whose web series, Lucky J, and you can find it at luckyjseries.com, right, is going to be Sunday night at Michigan Brewing and then May 1 on the web. And we're going to change gears now, and we're going to talk with Rina Risper. And Rina Risper is the publisher of the New Citizens Press. And it's good to see you, Rina. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. You know, when we come together, usually it's something exciting going on, something that's helping the community to move forward as usual.
And one of the sort of poignant memories is that one of the last, I think maybe it was the last time you were on, you had a very charismatic guest with you that I was extremely taken with, and that was Big Perm,
yes,
who came in, and it was just, he was one of the most warm and caring people. His friend Notch had been killed outside the loft.
And very articulate.
Oh, he was just very moving. I had the biggest kick out of him. He became a friend on Facebook, and he posted one morning, and he's, people see him as this huge, imposing person, and I think he was, kind of frightening. He's actually was this huge softy. He said, I kissed my woman in the morning, and then I put the little shorty on the bus, and that's me. And I thought, he's just this great, lively guy.
Yeah, I miss him a lot.
We lost him too soon.
We lost him very soon, which is one of the other things I work on, is making sure that the families that are impacted by violence stay healthy. There's so many different issues beyond the crime. There's employment, there's education, there's housing, there's transportation, just moving from one place to the next, trying to find a place to call home. And most people don't understand that people who are impacted by murder or violent crimes become so vulnerable. They become so vulnerable to other people who want to really take advantage of them. And that's what we're trying to help them avoid by having someone and a place to go to talk to someone about what are my next steps, where do I go. My fiance was killed inside of our house, and I have to move.
Right.
And I don't have diapers. Where do I go? Or I don't have a car anymore because I wasn't married to him.
Right.
And I'm not the executor, but I've lived with him for 5 years. There's a whole line of things that happen and can occur while being impacted by murder or violence.
When I was the executive director of the Michigan Victim Alliance, we had a website, and it led a lot of people to call me. And I got a call from a woman in North Carolina who had fled there. She was an ear witness to her boyfriend being killed in the room outside where she was hiding in the closet. And so she heard him being murdered and thrown off the balcony of the apartment that they were in, and she hid in the closet. And she had left to go down. She just took anything she had to get out of there. She knew her life was in danger. And one of the challenges that she faced, Rina, that we weren't able to do was getting her a driver's license so she could find a place to live down there. If you don't have any, she left her purse, she left everything. She just literally fled. And she said, I can't come back to Michigan in order to go to get my license transferred because my life is in danger. People don't realize
it is very
to the
traumatic.
board so many people are.
It is very traumatic. One of the cases that we'll hear about today is a domestic violence case, a brother and a brother. And people don't realize. When you say domestic violence, it's family involved, not necessarily female and male, but family involved. And it's a very, very difficult time.
One of the things I bet, and you may have noticed the same thing too, I think children who have gone through child abuse often suffer a lot more health problems as an adult.
Oh, most definitely.
And so we live in a society that isn't terribly forgiving in terms of getting people medical care.
Not only do we live in a society that is not forgiving about giving medical care, some of the children of abuse don't want to talk about it, so they internalize it.
Right.
And then that internalization of their issue comes out within the way that they act, they behave, substance abuse problems to try to cover up and really just go internal, which is not a great way to deal with things either. So in my opinion, when you first find out about someone who's going through an issue, you must get with them right away. And especially with families that have been impacted by a crime, you just check on them every once in a while. Sometimes they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just feel like, I don't even want to hear it right now. But you always tell them, my motto is I will never leave you, and I never will, regardless.
Rina, I don't know if I'm taking you on a tangent you may or may not want to go down, but you had a traumatic experience recently where you were inadvertently targeted by the police for a stop, even though you weren't really a candidate to be stopped, but you had a very traumatic experience.
That was very traumatic.
It really surprised you how it
was very
impacted
traumatic.
you.
I was very surprised at how it impacted me. I'm always thinking to myself right now that I'm going to be stopped.
We've seen so many cases where we're raising the awareness of
And
the
it seems as though
disproportionate stops of
everywhere
minority
I
people.
look,
Yeah.
somebody's being stopped. And
Yeah.
it's institutionalized.
It is.
It's institutionalized. It's structural issues that need to be taken care of. And Bonnie, I tell you what, looking into the face of that young white rookie cop with that shotgun and just the absolute fear on his face and the way that he was staring at me, and I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I don't fit your profile. And the first thing I said to them when they told me to come forward with my hands up was that I think you have the wrong person.
Yeah.
But they still had to check my car. Now, I have it from two perspectives. What if I was a victim of domestic violence and my abuser was in the back seat with a shotgun?
Yeah.
I would be grateful that I was in that situation. But reality is that I wasn't. I wasn't that person. However, when going back looking through the tapes, I had the exact same vehicle that they were looking for, and I was in the exact same place. My other issue is, isn't it legal to carry a firearm in Michigan? How is it okay to see people walking downtown with rifles? And maybe this guy was just getting out of his car.
Well, see, that's part of the difficulty nowadays is that our gun
You
laws
just
are so
don't.
peculiar.
You just don't know.
Yeah, so the
As a
guy
background.
walking up to the school with open carry.
Right.
The guy in the public library.
Yeah, the guy, I was there once with, somebody walked in with a weapon.
So
That's
it's a
pretty
very interesting.
traumatic.
It's now legal to take them into the Capitol.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bizarre situation where...
You can't carry sticks though, remember that.
No signs.
Signs,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Well,
can't have a
stick,
sign.
you would have a stick on you,
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
It was very interesting, but
As a little background for listeners who may not have known, but Rina was targeted because there was a call out and her car fit the description.
started to attack me about it.
Right. Right.
And that I got anonymous letters.
And that happens. I mean, there's always these cruisers out there looking
But
for some.
Trolls.
Yeah,
I mean,
trolls.
but no, and then I just got a letter today from someone who was telling me not to have rose-colored glasses on. And I had to explain to her, my situation is not the same as yours.
Yeah.
And she was explaining that I'm a person in the community who can make a change happen, and was telling me about her son who went to prison for a crime that he didn't commit. And I basically told her, your situation is not my situation. My pain is not your pain, and I can't really relate to that.
But before we leave that topic, I did want to warn you, Rina, that in a lot of the police training, they are told that if you had made any move, you might have been in real trouble, because they always want to teach police officers that women will shoot too. So,
Well, I did learn a couple of things, and the most important things, listeners, I learned to comply.
oh yes,
That is
Yes.
it. No matter how you feel that you're being disrespected,
doesn't matter.
just comply. But the problem that I have with that is, while you're complying, that means that, see, you said it was okay and the police officers were just doing their job. You seemed like you weren't upset about it then.
Right.
So that happened too, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if I was upset, maybe it might have been a different situation if I would have reached for the wrong thing. I got frisked and everything. I was really upset about that. But
Well, I didn't mean to take us down that road, but I think it's the other side of that story, and I'm hoping now that we can also talk with Lori Black, and she's going to talk about the loss of her daughter, and you're part of the group that Rina has brought together. And what are some of the things that are... This is Crime Victims' Rights Awareness Month.
Yes.
Is there work to be done for crime victims? We've had a lot of... I was part of that movement for many years. I'm still friends with many of the people in the movement. But I'm kind of concerned that it seems as though it does not have the profile that it once did. there's still quite a bit to do in my mind.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think, even talking about where Rina had happened with the police officers, it's so, in the forefront right now. There's so much anger.
Yeah.
People don't trust the police. Our communities are failing, and that we want the police to come, but then when the police come, we're having a problem. It's racial. There's a major problem with it. I was recently contacted about an initiative that was started in Lansing for my daughter with the police department that I wasn't aware that had begun, where they're now targeting higher profile areas, higher crime areas.
Hotspots?
Hotspots. So,
Yeah.
They tell me that they're working on it, but my response to that, I just did an interview with WLNS, I think it was, the other day about it. My response to that was, is it really the police officer's job to clean up those hot spots? Because the police officers can only do so much.
Right.
Then we have to look at the judicial system and say, are they really doing all that they can? So that was kind of where I fell in that right now is, the police officers are sent out, they pick up people, but it's the judge's job to keep those people that need to be in jail or behind bars.
And at the end of the day, one of the things that the community policing movement did that I was part of is that using police officers as more of a catalyst to organize the community is important. Because if they just come in and out on high-risk calls, as Rina's talking about, that's a totally adversarial kind of
right. And I think that's what they're trying to work toward now, is being more present in the communities, but they're targeting, I guess, the higher crime areas, quote unquote, the higher crime areas. So
it's an interesting space to be
really
in
is.
when you're speaking. And I will continue to work with the police department because if any one of
But
us,
the community does have to hold them accountable.
we do have to hold them accountable, and we have to question, and we have to question with our own sense of integrity, and in questioning them regarding why a rookie. Why was the rookie cop holding a gun at a high risk? And he said to me, they have to start somewhere.
Well, at least it wasn't a 73-year-old millionaire who gave them a few cop cars.
That's very true. That's very true. But
who
it's
went taser, and pulled out a Magnum instead.
It's a very interesting place to be in, because if we all thought about it, the first people that we're going to think about calling is the police department.
Exactly.
We're going to call the police department because we trust them that they're going to come out and find the individuals who are hurting us. Now, and another thing is that people need to understand that the police officers have a specific job. They have a specific job to catch, and then after that, their job is done. They're not keeping track of the court dates, and the only reason why you should go back to them, is if you're being threatened by the other family, which happens too, which is one of the things that we have to deal with the New Citizens Press Community Action Network at some of our events. There are people who have been accused of murdering other people who are now murder victims themselves.
Yeah.
So I have to personally keep track of all of those things that are going on by making sure I speak to my parents and their family members about what their issues are. There'll be people who will call me and will say, well, are you related in any way to the so-and-so family, to make sure that I am not with the other family.
Right. It does get very complicated.
It gets more complicated than people are aware of. It gets very complicated. When you have a case that has more than one defendant,
yes,
it gets complicated. The Shayla Johnson's case is very, very complicated right now because Lori has to continually go back and talk about the minor at the time who was a part of committing the crime, and she has her own, perspective on that, while we're all looking at juvenile justice and putting young people in prison and making sure that they don't stay in prison too long because they'll learn more things. There are some defendants who already know, because that's what they learned, that's what they've been taught
One
since
of the
they were
most
kids.
underfunded systems in Michigan right now, and the loss of funding for the juvenile justice system is tremendous, makes it very difficult to be able to intervene. I keep saying, the common line is that it is easier to repair a child than to try to fix an adult. And we hope that they do invest more resources. You're listening to LCC Radio, WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. We're talking with Rina Risper, the publisher of the New Citizens Press. And also give us the name of the nonprofit organization that you
It's called TNCP CAN, which is the New Citizens Press Community Action Network. And a part of it is that we help families of murder victims and violent crimes with resources. There are lots of little things that can occur that most people are unaware of. And they all want to help, but sometimes you have to just listen before you can help. And a lot of people want to put their 2 cents in instead of listening to the individual. And each case is markedly different from the others. You just have to listen.
Rina, we're joined by a new guest. Would you introduce her, please, for us?
This is Pam, Shawn Pam. Excuse me, I always get it mixed up. I apologize. She is the sister of Mike Martinez.
No. Michael Jimenez.
Michael Jimenez. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I got it all wrong. I'm just as nervous as you are today. I have so many things going on in my mind. I apologize. Tell us a little bit about what happened in your case. And this is new and fresh.
Yes.
And we just had
months.
another murder yesterday. And I have to keep track of all of these individuals. And I just met you a couple of weeks
ago.
It was very, very traumatic for the both of us. So I sincerely apologize about
That's
that.
okay. My younger brother, Rasan Perry, shot and killed my brother, Michael Jimenez, back in November 8th on MLK. It was over an argument, jealousy. He's in jail now. We're just waiting to go to trial. Pre-trials will be starting in July.
Both lives ruined.
Yes.
Both lives ruined.
Family is just torn apart.
Yeah.
Mother, I'm her only child still, here. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So, she's got one gone, well, 2 gone, but, one's still alive. So it's hard on me, I haven't really talked to her about the situation, about what happened, because I don't know how she's going to act, or, I've tried inviting her to stuff like this and she just won't come. So I have to be my brother's voice for, justice for him.
That's going to put you in a very difficult
Yeah.
position.
Yes,
And
it
we
is.
see that so frequently. I have worked with victims who've had to write impact statements later, and it's so difficult because they feel they're the voice for the family, and
Right.
it's their job that they have to stand up and do these things, and it puts an enormous amount of pressure on you, and I really have compassion for you. This is the month to try to recognize the kind of services that are needed. I mean, we do have the Michigan Crime Victims Services Commission. They do offer some help to people who need therapy, who need health care, who need some sort of assistance. Senator Van Regenmorger once had a separate fund where he would give small grants to people who needed, like the woman that needed the driver's license, I mean, it's a situation where you need some sort of specific kind of help, and you try to help crime victims. What kinds of support, what activities are you doing? I went to a few years ago when you had a ceremony and you handed flowers to victims and tried to promote healing. What kinds of things are you doing these days?
Well, now that we have a nonprofit, we have an event during National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and we have so many new people. So I am just...
That's not a club you want to join.
That's not a club you want to join. I wish that we had a really small group of people, and I wish that we didn't have so many young people, so many children at our events, or so many children wearing 3 shirts. It's very, very difficult. So on November 27th, from 6 to 8, we have a ceremony, and we
you
have
mean April?
April 28th.
Okay.
You said November.
April 27th.
That's a long way.
Lead time.
Okay.
You know
You
what?
have too much on your mind.
I
on
have
your
so much on
calendar.
my
Are,
mind.
are our two guests going to, will you both be going to
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's next Monday night.
Yes.
It's next Monday night. That's April 27th from 6 to 8 at Lansing City Hall,
Okay.
downtown.
Okay.
I got it
And
straight.
who's
now.
invited?
All families that have been impacted by murder. All
Are
families.
children allowed to?
Oh, children are allowed to. We just request that individuals send us how many people are coming. And I was doing that today, which is probably why my brain is swimming, because I have about 10 new people who are coming who have not come before. And so I had to go through the whole conversation of what happened. We're also inviting people to come who have a relationship here in East Lansing, the greater Lansing area, who have had a family member murdered outside of the state as well, who maybe moved to, we have one lady, her son moved to Florida and he was murdered in North Miami.
Well, there's also, I do notice that the Crime Victims Vigil is Wednesday night this week also at 6 o'clock down at the Capitol. And I've been to those in the past where people do come to the microphone, they light a candle in remembrance of their loved one. You have been very good at promoting healing in the community here for our local community. That's more of a statewide event, and this is for our local community. So what are the kinds of things that will happen at that?
You know what? One of the most important things that will happen is that families will get to meet other families. And that is one of the most healing things that could possibly happen. In my line of work, if I feel that there's a parent that you should meet, I'm trying to introduce you to that parent. I will call the other parent, ask them if they mind if I give someone their phone number. I'll briefly explain what their issues are, because sometimes when you're speaking to a parent that's new, it's overwhelming and they don't even know what they're looking for.
You know, Lori, I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
because I was the coordinator of the Victims in the Media program for many years, and I wondered, had you had the media coverage of your event? Were there things that made your life tougher as a result of the way the media covered it?
Yes. The media will sometimes, I feel like they will pick certain things and maybe blow it up into a
Yes.
hotter topic than
Yes.
it is, or turn words around, maybe not intentionally, maybe intentionally, I don't know, but it can make, for me, I know when my daughter was killed, I felt like I had to defend that my daughter wasn't some kind of drug lord or something, or I wasn't. You know, it was just, I felt like it made the community look at me like, wow, how did you not know that, you know, these people were coming to look for 100 pounds of marijuana? And I said, well, I certainly didn't have, you know, but that's the way the media put it out there, and so that's how people looked at it. And I felt like I had to defend myself. As well, and you know, in my family's name, to say no, I'm just a suburban mom who goes to work every day just like you, you know.
It's one of the challenges when we found out that so many times it seems that we want a simple frame for the story. And people really want to believe that somehow only people who deserve it, quote unquote, have these bad things happen to
I
them.
heard that too.
Yeah.
I actually just made a comment, and Rena told me, stay off the news, Lori, because I just had, I went on a news feed the other day on social media, and people were like, well, it's good, I'm glad this boy is going to get this, and I'm glad he's going to get this, and you know, his dad drug him to this, and I said, look, the last time I checked, I have never seen any of you people at any court hearing.
Oh.
You've never heard any of the facts. You've never heard the testimony. And, you know, and it actually shut them down, and they stopped talking about it. And I don't usually open my mouth or let my voice be heard in social media or on Lansing State Journal, comment section or anything, but I just had enough. That day I had enough. I put my voice out in court, and I put my voice out on social media, and I said, look, we're going to kill this.
Not the New Citizens Press, though.
Nope, no.
Rina is here.
Rina doesn't have a comment section.
Shawn has an equally complicated situation as well with having both brothers and involved.
Certainly. That makes
and
it so difficult.
She has done a really, really great job of speaking out and just being a support of her family, being supportive of her family. But she absolutely misses her brother, and that's quite evident every time I speak to her. And she's one of our new families. Everything is really, really fresh for her, and I really appreciate her taking the time out to come out and speak, because at some point in time, we need to give the families this opportunity to speak and to actually protect their own family members, because things that go on in court can be extremely disturbing. What the defendant says and how it really hurts the family, and they've been going through a lot with their case, and their whole family dynamic has been ripped apart as a result of this murder.
Well, I would hope that on Monday night, and what time again?
From 6 to 8
6
p.m.
to 8 p.m. at City Hall coming up, April 27th, this Monday night. I think you've already found a new family of friends who will
Be supportive.
give you some support here. And no one can say that they know what you're going through, because everybody goes through it individually, but you have a community of people with shared experience. And I'm glad that Rina has brought them together. This has been really her life's work. And I do hope that people will take the opportunity on Monday night to come together down at City Hall and have an opportunity to recognize the tough time that crime victims have. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.